Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Joanna?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Could you
Right.
use the background of ECXO?
I thought it would come up automatically because it usually does, but let's have a look.
You see, I got it.
I had to install Zoom again this morning, so where's
this is the new office show that we have now in Helsinki. That's not in
Yes,
Helsinki.
just.
But
No, this is
wait
in.
a minute. I can't find
You see how I manage a budget, 36,000, and we are building, we are having many different buildings around. That's so good.
Joanna,
Don't be under pressure,
be...
Joanna. Always good.
Why is the backgrounds not there?
He's discriminating.
Maybe you need to kind of from the settings you need to do it again.
Okay, I need to download the images again.
In Norway, they created something now that you change your environment very fast. And Joanne is testing that now. In a few seconds, she's going to have a new background. It'll be in totally different place. And that's really a technology that...
But in Norway, they got the billions to do that. That's the case.
Yeah, but you have the money. If you did not have the money, that would be difficult.
That's right. That's right. In Finland, we don't have the money, so that's why we use trains and planes.
Yeah. I had some thoughts about this ECXO after the done email. And Joanna, hi Helen.
Hi.
Morgan.
Hi Helen.
Good morning.
Oh, you are here in the... Are you here in the entrance, or you are?
Yeah, I'm here. I manage with the background. Does it look okay?
Yeah, looks good.
Great. Now, I'm actually at school.
Okay.
So and I'm going to talk a bit about that because all of my students are in another. So
okay, you have a flex in your face. The theme of the wake up, the makeup. You have to put something in your front head.
Yeah, I have to live with it. That's how I look. I can't change it now.
No, you have the reflex of the light.
But whoever has the mouse, when we're not flipping through, then keep it still because it can be very distracting. I've been in a lot of presentations with the mouse jumping around, and you go like you follow the mouse with your eyes, and then you are not focused on what's going on.
Yeah, the reason my mouse was there is because I was looking at the chat.
Who is going to start talking?
Joanna.
All right, Joanna, today you don't need to ask the question, where are you from? You know, because everybody's from Scandinavia.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I will start now. Are you ready?
Should we mute ourselves when we're not talking? We should probably.
Yeah, but be attention just because I will be mute, but you decide what you want to be. You control, okay? It's Joanna, Carrie, you, and two. If it looks great, ECXO takes the credit. If it looks bad, it's your fault. I'm joking. Okay, sure. That's the terrible guy. Okay, so we start.
That's my life. Yes, yes. That's my life.
3, 2, 1, 1 second, start.
And now we are waiting for our guests. We will let's see, I can see that's it. We've got some people attending. Hello, everybody who's joining us now.
Welcome.
Let's see. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Mikkel, Katarina, Jürgen. Hi, Jürgen. We'll give it a few minutes before we start the event, but wonderful that you're taking the time to join us with our Nordic team today. Please do feel free to say hi in the chat. We'll just give it a couple more minutes before we get started. Hope everybody's having a nice start to their Friday morning. We was just chatting before we started that it seems to be a lovely day here in the Nordics. So very mild. That's a good thing regarding the cost of electricity and
I think that is the key topic in each and every discussion nowadays.
yeah. Yeah, it affects everything.
But it's really nice to be able to take the bike to work in Stockholm in mid-November. That doesn't always happen.
The chat is disabled. Let me see if we can enable our chat. I think the chat's I will the chat should not be disabled.
Check now.
It's okay now. Please do try to write in the chat and we'll see if it's now enabled. Let's hope so. I will try and write a message.
I think the message is only sent to the host and panelist, so there might be a setting there.
Okay. Still disabled. At least the Q&A seems to be working. It's enabled now. It should be enabled now. Okay, we have, let's have a look. We've got just over 25 attendees. Shall we get started? Is everybody ready?
Yes, except the chat doesn't work. I can see that in the comments, so I don't know if you can change anything, but people are ready.
Okay, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Okay, let's shoot 1 second.
Good morning, welcome.
Okay, so welcome everybody to the first ever Nordic digital meetup in regie of the European Customer Experience Organization. We're here today. This is, as mentioned, our first meetup in this kind of setting. And it's really, there's a few things that we want to do today. First off, we want to introduce you to who we are, the Nordic region, but also the European Customer Experience Organization. And most importantly, I know why you're here today is because you want to hear the results from our very recent survey, which was aimed at getting an understanding about the level of maturity across the Nordic region. So the program for the next hour is to give you a short introduction into our organization, to introduce you to our fellow ambassadors across the Nordics so that you get this lovely networking feeling, and to present some of our key findings from the recent survey. We'll then, each of my fellow hosts, who you can see here, will then touch on some of the main topics from the survey that we carried out. And we will then open up for questions at the end. So please do write down your questions and we'll produce them or present them to one of the hosts. For information, this event will be recorded. That means that later on or in the recent near future, we will post this on the platform of the European Customer Experience Organization. So you will also be able to see that at a later date. So first off, let's have a little look. Who are we? The European Customer Experience Organization. In short, I can say that we are a professional network. We have a very clear goal of trying to enhance both customer experience and employee experience across the European region. It's all about trying to come together to grow and learn and develop the level of maturity across the whole of Europe. We aim to do this through different platforms. This is through educational programs, through research, certifications, events. We have lots of really fabulous events, and there'll be opportunities for collaboration and partnership and roundtables, plus much, much more. It's open access community. That means that we're here for all professionals, whether you are a leader, a practitioner, a designer, anybody that really has a passion or an interest in developing customer experience or employee experience. So that's very short on the European Customer Experience Organization. We'll also post in our chat a link to how you can actually join the community. So we'll post that. But first of all, let's get to know each other. I forgot to mention, my name is Joanna. So during the next hour, what I will be doing is basically both facilitating our conversation, also participating in one of the topics, and then also helping to forward your questions at the end. But then let's get to know some of our other guests. Kari from Finland.
Hi, Joanna.
Opportunity to get to know you, but can you tell some of our viewers here a little bit about yourself?
I'm really happy to be with you, to have the first ever kind of a ECXO Nordic meetup. And first, I've been working with the customer experience for a long time already, and I've been writing a couple of books about customer experience also. I founded up Future Lab here in Finland like 2010. And since that, I've been focusing on customer experience. So I've really seen the topic growing from from marginal to corner rooms. So it's been really kind of a great journey. And I've been part of the European Customer Experience Organizations for over a year already. It's been kind of great to see how the kind of network has been growing rapidly inside the Nordics also. Mm. So that's about me. Really happy to be here with you.
Yeah, and we're thrilled to be able to work together with you, Kari. You have so much experience from this field. I know you've also written a few books, one of those which can be found on Amazon. So I would definitely recommend checking out Kari.
Thank you.
Helen, you're joining us from Sweden.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Helen Rigamonti. I'm fairly new as an ambassador to ECXO in Sweden. And I'm super excited to be part of this first Nordic CX meetup. So my background is I've been working as an interim manager. So I have 20 years of experience with leading different customer-facing organizations. And I'm actually, since this summer, a teacher in customer experience, and I'm right now at the school where I teach. So at EOM Business School, a class in the customer experience specialist is actually listening from the classroom, and I'm presenting in another room at the school. So we're going to talk a bit about spreading the light on CX by education later on. So really great to be here.
Thank you. Wonderful to have you here, Helen. And it's so wonderful news to hear of the education program in Sweden. I hope that it can translate into all of the other Nordic countries. That would be cool. Tua, Tua, you're joining us from Denmark.
Yes, thank you, Joanne. Really good to be here. My name is Tua. I've been working in customer service and customer experience for a long time. I started out as an agent, I became a manager, and now I'm working for a customer service platform, building good relationships between customers and brands. And we are based in Copenhagen, and it's a beautiful day. I've been part of the ECXO since its founding, and working hard to spread the good work of CX into the European Union and bringing all the experiences that we have. And I really look forward to this session today, where we can share the findings from the survey and also see what are the similarities and differences between the Nordic countries.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much, Tua, and thank you to all of you for your short introduction. So I think we're ready to move on to probably the part that everybody's waiting to hear. What are the results from the survey? Kari, would you like to give us a run through about some of the key findings that about the survey, and tell us a little bit about the survey?
Yes, of course. Well, first it is an online survey. We shared the link to the survey through ECXO, through our social media network. So it's been really kind of an open opportunity for people from different Nordic countries to respond, people that are working around CX in various roles and positions. So I think it was really kind of, for us as together, when we start to plan, hey, we should have a ECXO Nordic kind of a meetup. So instead of us just talking about what is CX in the Nordics, we wanted to add some value for our kind of a discussion and talking about CX in the Nordics. We wanted to create some kind of understanding and some kind of a basic information about CX to support our discussion. So this is not kind of a scientific approach on the CX and the survey in the Nordics. This is more kind of taking some kind of a simple key findings, and it was really an online survey, and we got roughly almost 100 answers to the survey. From some countries, we didn't get that many of response, so that's why we are not going to share kind of what are the results per country. At this stage, we wanted to kind of create a simple summary of the findings, which you can see here. But that is the kind of background of the survey. So it was the first and foremost for us as an ambassadors, as part of the ECXO, to get a certain kind of an understanding of what is the CX maturity, what is the CX kind of a current state in the Nordics. So that is the kind of basics of the survey. So going to the findings of the survey, as I said in the beginning, I've been working in customer experience since 2010 when I started the Future Lab here. And when we ask about how long the customer experience has been in the strategy of the companies and organizations, it was interesting, at least to me, to see that it has been there only I would say only 1 to 3 years. So that was the kind of a majority of the response were saying that's the situation. It's not. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have kind of focusing with the customer experience and development of that for a longer time already, but to have that in the strategy, I would say only 1 to 3 years. But might be that at the same time, it is important to see that, hey, companies and organizations are really kind of taking that serious. Before you put that into your strategy, you really need to have a commitment for that topic. So also, from my point of view, I've always tried to kind of see what is changing and what is not changing. Already a few years ago, I was thinking that, hey, the CX, it's really kind of maturing already. Is there something happening anymore around the customer experience? But looking to the findings, it is just starting to happening. So from that point of view, CX really is there just right now. Now, when we go to the next kind of findings, when we see that it has been in the strategy only 1 to 3 years, it is not a surprise that most parts of the organizations are committed, but the big challenge is that at the total company level, we clearly see from the results that there is a problem, that the organizations fully are not committed. So I think that is something that organizations and companies really need to work with, because from my experience, I see that typically customer experience is somehow seen as a siloed and not at the kind of organization level topic, although it is in the strategy already. So I think that is something that companies need to focus on, to have really company level commitment. When we ask about the top 3 development plans for customer experience, from the survey, we found out that they will be customer insight, change management, and having a vision, a strategy, and organizing CX. So when we have that in strategy, what does it really mean? What I've seen is typically happening is that, hey, now we have customer experience in the strategy, but do we really have a shared understanding of that? Then we come to the vision. So are we really having a shared understanding of what CX is meaning for us? If I ask from the management team, if I ask a kind of a shared question, hey, do you know what CX is about? They are saying yes. But when I kind of discuss with them one-to-one, I have really different kind of answers. Someone is saying it's about customer service. Someone is saying that it is about digital. Someone is saying it's about employee experience. So we should have a shared vision and strategy for customer experience. So that was one of the issues. Customer insight, especially after the COVID-19, customer insight, customer understanding came to the next level. Suddenly we see, looking to the results also, that clearly companies need to have more work with the customer understanding, because the way customers are behaving now, the journeys, decision-making processes, and so on, they've changed for good. So customer insight is really kind of a core element of how, if you want to improve your customer experience. And change management. If we take the change management, we can see that is also the biggest challenge. This links the topic to the results from the first question. It has been in the strategy only a few years. But what I've seen, a lot of the companies, a lot of the management, they follow up the, hey, how is the NPS result doing? And that is the focus. They focus on the NPS. And now it has changed 1 point. It's improved 2 points. Great. Now it went down 2 points. But why? What is happening behind that? They really don't see that. What are they doing? How are they managing the experience? So I would say that really having a company level understanding of how to make the change happen. So that is the key issue now. These are the ones that are going to win the game inside the customer experience opportunities. They are the ones that are really able to make the change management happen. So the change management being the key challenge is really, really understandable.
Yeah, and Kari, there's come in a couple of questions, and I know that you're going to follow up to talk a little bit more about change management. And one of the questions here was actually working on change management. How would you suggest to close the loop with full process and how to follow up these changes? So maybe we could continue a little bit along the lines of this discussion about why first of all is change management such a significant point in this survey?
Well, I think it is somehow the change management. We need to have a shared understanding how to cover the whole organization. What are the kind of elements of the change program that we need to implement? Instead of focusing on measuring customer experience, before that, because customer experience KPIs are lacking indicators. We should create to run the change management. We should create also the leading indicators that are linked to the management. So we should lead the knowledge. We should lead also the processes. So we need to have the information from within our team that, hey, what kind of a knowledge we need to improve the customer experience. Then we need to get that into our processes. Then we need to secure the resources. Then we'll kind of make the cultural change to happen. There's a lot of discussion about how to change the culture, but it doesn't happen by itself. We need to manage that. So that is the big issue and opportunity for the change management. But we need the company level commitment for that. That's the key topic.
And so the company commitment, that also starts maybe in the very starting point of actually setting out the vision and the mission for the actual level of for the expectation. Yes. What is the experience we want to actually deliver within our company?
I would say that the key challenge and the key topic is to get the overall management commitment.
Yeah,
I've seen so often that the company management is saying, hey, now we have the customer experience strategy. Yes, that sounds really good. But somehow behind that, there are people in the management saying, wow, now it is not anymore my topic. Now there's that person. Joanna is running the customer experience. It's not my topic. I can continue work as I've been doing so far. So it's not in my agenda. But no, we really need to go full commitment from the management. So that is the key. That is the key issue for the success.
Yeah. So basically, the top tip for being able to succeed with the change management, or it's really about operationalizing customer experience within the entire organization, is actually starting from the correct starting point, and that starts with the top leaders. And
not to leave that into certain silo. So typically, it is isolated to certain silos, and that is the typical mistake.
Yeah. Helen,
can I just add one thing that we've been talking about a lot in our classes, and that's more to do with the mindset and actually placing the customer in the room and working with the culture. And one really interesting topic here is about the storytelling and getting the customer to actually be a real person in the room and being close to the customer. And there's a lot of good tips here when it comes to using storytelling. For instance, we had a very interesting webinar about that in ECXO, and using those kind of tools to keep the customer close and always in the room to drive the culture change.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I think
and to follow up on what you said, Kari, about KPIs, it's also really important to be able to tie the effect of CX to financial results. And I think we haven't been very good at that. So we historically have very much seen all of the contact centers as being a cost center, where now it is more of a value center. And we need to reach a level of maturity where we're able to tie the data, so we understand what we invest in CX is actually something that has a positive impact on the bottom line. And we haven't been good at that. Like you said, a lot of the KPIs have been lacking indicators, and we need to change our mindset when it comes to what we're actually tracking, so we can prove the value of CX. And that also allows us to get more funding. Marketing, they can show the results of conversions, and they will get more funding to do that. If we can show how a positive customer experience impact the value that we get from our customers, then there will be more funding for customer service operations.
I fully agree. And luckily, within the last few years, there's been more and more service and business cases around that. The companies they've been really able to show the connection between CX and the financial results. So there are more and more evidence around that. So that's really, really important. But still, there are a lot of, still kind of always someone is doubting the connection, and this seems to be relevant, but this is fluffy stuff. So that is quite often the discussion, and without the business case, that is typical situation. I would say also that because I've been working inside the marketing before focusing on the customer experience, and there's also a lot of discussion inside the marketing about really being a cost center instead of being a creating value. So there's certain kind of similarities in the discussion around marketing and CX. So I would say that CX has a better opportunities to show the value and to create the business case. Also, when creating the business case, it's important to have a shared understanding, whether we are talking about income or savings when talking about the business case. So shared understanding of the business case elements is something that is relevant.
Absolutely. There actually come in a question here that's also related to this. It says actually CX is no more than a means to the end goal of a profitable customer loyalty, a component in the overall customer strategy, finding a customer-centric company culture. Any comments to this? And we can tie customer loyalty back to profitability. So we know that if our customers are loyal to us, then they will, of course, not only have increased spend, but they will also promote us to other customers. So it's being able to tie this loyalty factor to the actual activities that we do within the
yeah, and a way to make it more tangible, if you take a thought example where you segment your customers into gold, silver, and bronze, then you look at the customer lifetime value of those 3 segments, and then you correlate that with the CSAT. And then you see what happens when I create a really good experience for a customer in the silver segment. They move into the gold segment, and that means it increases the customer lifetime value over time. And on the other hand, if I don't deliver a good experience and a customer is slipping from being in the silver segment to the bronze segment, that will reduce the customer lifetime value of that customer. And it's all about aggregating the data from your order management system or CRM system with the experience that you provide in your customer service platform, or where you're tracking your CSAT, customer effort score, or NPS. And when you start tying those together, you can get a very clear correlation about how they feel about the service, how that moves over time, and that can actually have a dollar value. And a good example is there are several meal delivery boxes. They are tracking interactions with their customers, and they can see that if their customers speak with them, they stay longer and spend more money compared to customers that don't talk to them. And that seems counterintuitive, because they are reaching out because something actually went wrong. But when you have that communication with somebody, that often leaves you with a better experience, if it's a good experience that you have, and you become more loyal to that brand, because something always goes wrong, and it's about how you deal with it when that happens. And if I order a book from 2 online bookstores and they arrive on time, price is the same, I will not be more loyal to either of them. But if something goes wrong and I reach out to one of them and they give me a good experience, I will be more likely to purchase from that bookstore the next time, even though it started out as a bad experience. So that's how you can actually prove the value of investing in CX, because it increases loyalty, it increases customer lifetime value, and it has a positive impact on the bottom line.
Fantastic. Well said, Ture. I thought that perhaps we could go back to another one of the key findings that we had in the survey, which was the fact that very many organizations that are now working with customer experience as like a strategy, they also commented on the fact that while most parts of the organization are actually involved or are participating in the strategy, very many also commented that that many units were still not involved, or when I refer to units, I'm referring to silos or departments. And I think that first off, when I read that, I thought that I was delighted to hear that very many parts of the organization were in fact involved, but then we need to understand why are some of the parts not involved. And I think that this relates back to maybe 3 areas, maybe lack of clarity, lack of direction, Number two, there was a Norwegian two, lack of understanding and tools. And this is part of not relaying the actual results back to the whole organization, or involving the whole organization in the understanding of this is our mission and this is how we are achieving on this as to date. And the third one is actually, I would refer to lack of involvement. And I want to give an example of this, because very often when I'm holding a workshop for establishing a company's customer experience vision, their direction, and some customer experience promises, I always start with this one exercise where I ask them, okay, what promises do you already give to your customers? And you would be surprised how many, this is like an exercise with all employees, how many employees do not actually know what their brand promises are, or what it is that they are actually promising to customers already today. And I think this is perhaps one of the greatest challenges that we have, that very often maybe there's been hired in a fantastic consultancy bureau and a top leader management team have set the direction or created these fantastic brand promises, but it's definitely not involved or engaged throughout the entire organization. And I think this is perhaps the area where we find that we're missing out involving some of our units. So I know that recently, last week, there was a report that came out from Interbrand on the best global brands, and they reported that the 15 top risers had 3 commonalities, and it was direction, it was agility, and to be able to be agile, you need to have understanding. And the third one was participation. So I have this feeling that when we're investing in customer experience as a strategic movement, we are still unfortunately lacking the mandate or the resources from top management to be able to involve the whole organization in the development of the direction and the promises. So instead of having like brand promises, I often refer to, let's have customer promises. For customer promises are from people to people, they're from humans to humans. And if you manage to create this with an entire organization, it creates an engagement so that everybody feels that they can actually be involved. And it's also coming to, okay, why, where is the problem that this is not actually happening? And I have this theory that the problem is, and we talked about this earlier, the problem is perhaps lack of education. And when I refer to education, I'm thinking perhaps it's lack of education both for leaders within the customer experience roles. But I say that with caution, because I know that very many leaders really heavily invest in their own education. But I think it's also lack of education for top managers, for CEOs, for our board, of the importance of being able to give the resources to an entire organization to participate in defining the vision and the promises for the organization. And Helen, you're now teaching, so I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts along this aspect. Do you think that we've had a problem with lack of education?
Yeah, and we're fixing it right now. Yeah, of course, because CX tools are cross-functional. A lot of them are cross-functional in their nature. Like working with customer insights. Insights are gathered in a lot of different parts of the organization. Working with customer journey management. Journeys should include all different aspects of the organization. So I think there's a very important part here to actually drive change in the organization, working with these tools. But we need to create knowledge and spread the light and spread the knowledge about these CX tools, and also best practice. I think that's a really important part. And I really think it's very exciting here in Sweden that we are having several customer experience education on like a higher level educations. And we're also seeing a lot of interest from companies doing CX trainings. And I think that the ECXO has a very important role here in setting educational programs, and in that it also comes like defining CX role, because that's also a difficult part. It looks very different in different organizations where the CX role actually lives. And what we don't want to see is like a similar, if we look back to the 90s where CRM was talked about, and how that has become like a system, and the same way with the UX that has become quite buried quite deeply into the IT departments. So what we do not want to see is that the CX practitioners will be deeply buried in some other function without the mandate, without the C-suite buy-in, and without the ability to change. So I really think that education is a key to drive this change within the customer experience discipline.
Absolutely. And then there's a question: how do we get to educate the board members and the top CEOs?
I think it's going to happen naturally, because we start becoming better at proving the value that CX is providing, and that means that it will move into the C-suite, and you will see more investment in it, because we are seeing a world where everybody is very economically challenged. It's very expensive to get new customers. The customer acquisition cost is through the roof. So what brands are focusing on now is net revenue retention, and a way to drive that is through better customer experiences, because that builds customer loyalty. You want to protect the revenue and grow the revenue that you have, and you can only do that by consistently delivering good experiences. And that starts with giving the employees the right knowledge and the right tools so they can support all the customers when they reach out. And when you have that mindset, it is mandatory that that is also the vision that you have on the C-suite and the boardrooms. They need to understand that this is critical for long-term survival in the situation that we're in right now. And we are all feeling the crunch. Our expenses go up. Our customers' willingness to buy goes down. And that means that we need to fight even harder to retain the customers that we have.
And we saw as well also too in our survey that customer understanding is in fact the greatest investment at the moment for customer experience managers. And I think that having this understanding of these major KPIs, it says itself that it's a necessity so that we're able to prove that we're actually delivering on the customer experience. I don't know if you've got any other good tips to with customer understanding. With so many making investments in customer understanding, what should they actually be thinking about?
I think something is systemic in this way that we're thinking about customers. We come very often from a very like hardware-based on-premise phone system solution in most contact centers, and we have adopted those kind of KPIs. And like Kari said, they are very often lagging indicators, and they're not actually reflecting the customer experience. Average wait time or average handling time or conversations per hour does not measure how a customer feels when they engage with a brand, but that's usually what we are tracking. And if that's what we track, that's the kind of performance that agents are driving towards. And we need to look at it in a different way. We know that first contact resolution is something that is key to getting a good experience. So that would be a better indicator to understand how often customers' questions are solved in the first instance. And it's not about just answering the question they have, but also the next best action, providing information that they don't know they need yet. And then looking at that as a metric. And we all know that the time to answer is really important, but very often we look at average wait time, but that's the average wait time until the conversation is answered by an agent. And we are not looking at the time to response, like when does the customer get a response? And again, it's because we've gotten used to work like that. And we need to look at all the different KPIs and how does it actually reflect the customer experience, and then start with having metrics that actually reflect a customer's experience when they engage with a brand. We need to have transactional surveys so we know about how they feel about the individual interaction. We also need to use NPS so we have more relational metrics so we understand how do they feel overall about the brand. And then we need to look at those together to get a clear understanding of how the customers feel. And then regardless of what metrics we use, the most important thing is to actually use it for something. Not just collecting it and then not doing anything with it, which we unfortunately see in a lot of organizations. It's about making these incremental changes. So over time, you can actually see you get a higher CSAT, you get a higher NPS. And if you are collecting all this information and you're not working to improving it, then you need to rethink your strategy.
I'd like to go back, just to going back to the change management. Quite often what I see that companies are seeing that, okay, based on the findings that they get from the surveys, they said, okay, we need to make some certain changes. And they start to kind of replan or redesign their processes and ways of working. And then asking, hey, how are you going to improve your customer experience? Well, first we need to improve our processes and ways of working. Then we can focus on the customer experience. And I see that is the wrong approach. Somehow customers are not thanking you for solving the problems that shouldn't have been there in the first place. So it is important that instead of focusing on the processes and ways of working, we should start to design also the experiences that we want to create. Then we are talking about signature moments, stuff like that. Coming back to the kind of Kahneman's thinking fast and slow, we really need to understand the emotional side of all of that. So then we start to kind of define, hey, what are the kind of ways of working in our customer interface that creates the feelings that we are caring about customers, we are caring about your problems, solving your problems, creating the kind of personal touch. So somehow that is quite often forgotten that, hey, this is about the feeling. I'm just reading the book about that is something interesting, and they are saying that even in the business-to-business landscape, the meaning of the emotions is bigger than in consumer businesses. So we typically forget the role of the emotions in the big picture. So this is not about processes. This is about emotions, and that's also something that is not kind of comfortable for the management, talking about the emotions. So, and then it is important to also for the business case point of view that, hey, we really are able to show that, hey, this is how we affect our customers and their emotions. That creates the connection to the loyalty, which creates the connection to the businesses.
Absolutely. And actually, I have a really good example of that that you talked about there, Kari, working with a business-to-business customer now. That I'm a huge fan of qualitative research, especially when it comes to designing being proactive and designing the customer experience that you want your customers to have with you. And in a qualitative research recently, when I asked the questions of what they expect, the replies were very, very rational. They were very I expect that quality delivery, that I'll have a good process. But then when I asked them to tell me a little bit about how it is to be a customer, it was hugely emotional answers. And it is, of course, those emotional answers that drive the fact that they become a loyal customer and that they become promoters. I know that we had, for a short time back, we had on ECXO, we had Colin Shaw from Beyond Philosophy.
Yes.
And he's done this fantastic work with the emotional pyramid, that you can actually see some emotions, they are destroying, some emotions build interest. some emotions build that you would recommend, and then some emotions actually build that you become a promoter, you become a seller. And the key for businesses today is to find out which emotions do they need to be in their signature experience to deliver on. Okay, now we need to make you interested. Now we need to make you feel that you would recommend us. But now we need to make you to an ambassador that you love us. And I know that in Norway we also have the business school. They also have a pyramid that actually shows that the businesses that actually lead their industry today, they are the businesses that actually create trovärdighet. What's the word for that in
credibility?
Yeah, that they're really, really believable, that they're really to trust in. That those are the companies that actually win their industries, and you can only do that by actually driving the emotions that your customers actually look for when they're not necessarily looking for it, but they're actually receiving when they're in interaction with you.
Can I tell you a little bit about before we run out of time, my coming course starts in December, that is covering customer insights fundamentals here at EOM Business School in Sweden. And this is really interesting about capturing the emotion in customer insights and the tools to do that, because when we talk about customer insight, it's always focuses so much on surveys. But I really want to stress that it's both about, collecting and questioning the customers, both quantitative and qualitative research, but also there's a lot of information that's already available in the data that we have and that we can use to provide like a full picture of the customers. And I think that one question that we should ask ourselves before we ask the customer anything really is, do we already have this information inside the organization? Because a lot of time we have, but we don't speak to each other. We have a lot of insight projects that drives through different parts of the organization, and you need to have one united voice of the customer program that really has the full focus. And one very large source of understanding the emotions that the customer has is through our employees. I mean, the teams that is actually talking to the customers, maybe taking like 80 to 100 customer calls every day, or the salesperson that sits down with the customer and have the dialogue. Why don't we interview them more about the customer's actual experience? Because they can answer, and we don't always have to ask the client. But when we sit down with having deep interviews with clients, that's how we catch the emotions. So there's a lot of interesting tools that we're teaching about catching this aspect of the customers as well. Joanna, you're muted.
Thank you, Helen. Sorry. I just wanted to jump in there and say that now we've had this long discussion, and there has been some questions that have come up during the conversation. And I see that, Cardi, you've answered some of these questions.
I've tried my best.
Yeah, thank you. But if anybody has any questions that they want to either questions or participation. I know we've got lots of very knowledgeable guests with us today, that if anybody wants to ask a question or comment anything, then please do. This is a great opportunity to do so.
Yeah, Joanna, you have a question. Can you please repeat the 3 headwords you just mentioned from Sherry here in Sweden?
Yeah, it was what did I say? Direction, agility, and participation.
Thanks.
Unfortunately, the chat didn't work today, so it was a Q&A. But we have, I think we've answered most of the questions that have come up during the conversation.
There's a question that I think is quite relevant. The question is working on change management. How are you suggesting to close the loop with full process and how to follow these changes? And it's back to both listening to customers and when it's change management, especially listening to agents or frontline employees that are speaking to employees or employees in general that actually are impacted by these changes and understanding what is causing friction. How can we remove that friction? And how can we also ensure that they have the right information so they know how the changes are going to affect them? And regardless of what information you collect, you need to go back to the people that provide it to you and tell them what you're going to do with it. And if you make changes, then you also need to inform them that we have decided to make these changes in our setup, in our process, in our flows, based on the feedback that you came with. Because then they actually feel that they are part of the process and it makes any change management process much smoother and easier when the people that are affected by it feel that they have an impact on it. So regardless of what you do, you need to listen, you need to say that you have received it and then tell them what you have done with it. And then usually prove that you are going to make changes based on the feedback that they provide.
Can I just
to continue?
Yeah, I just wanted
please,
to add,
Helen, you.
Sorry. Yeah, when we talk about the outer loop and the inner loop and how, I mean, of course, getting back to the customer with the feedback, that's super important. But then the loop of changing internally. And I think that is what customer experience management is all about. That from the customer insight, actually change the processes and doing that in a systematic, continuous way. And that's the key to working with customer experience management and maybe the definition of doing so.
Just continuing from there. A few years ago, I saw a study saying that only 5% of the companies that were kind of responding to that survey, only 5% were really acting on the feedback and communicating to customers what they are doing based on the feedback. So only 5%. If we think about how to differentiate in your competition, only starting to do that would make the difference. So you react on the feedback, you close the loop, of course, you solve the root causes, and then you communicate back to the customers what you have done based on the feedback they've given it to you. So only by doing that, you can differentiate in your competition. So it's really interesting to see also the connection between the response rate and the NPS. There's a connection between that. So it's interesting. How could be that possible? But if you really close the loop, you have a process, then customers feel that, hey, this company is worth of giving feedback because they use the feedback. And of course, when the company starts to use the feedback, that improves the customer experience, which improves the NPS. So in that sense, the connection between response rates and NPS is clear, but the actual kind of connection comes back to the closed loop process is truly being customer-centric as an organization. But typically what happens that such a comment that we are too busy to close the loop. There's so much to do. We don't have the time to close the loop with the customers. But as Helen, you were saying, that is the core of the customer experience development.
Thank you, Kari. We've got 5 minutes left. We've got a couple of questions in the Q&A. First of all, will the key results of this survey be available? The key results will be available alongside with this presentation in the ECXO, I suspect. Kari? I'm sure we'll present the slides for this. And could you recommend a good source of inspiration towards transforming, adding to the CX KPIs from a focus on, sorry, it disappeared.
I just respond to Anna's question. That will be in my coming book. But before that, I've been with several companies. We've been focusing on creating the change management goals and KPIs instead of just focusing on the customer experience KPIs. So that's something that we are doing a lot nowadays, really kind of focusing on the leading indicators, not just on the lagging indicators. So Anna, come back to me. So there are some, I'm not sure, I don't remember if I've written any blog post on that, but that's something that we are really working a lot nowadays. So yeah. That's a good question.
Wonderful. One last question, and then we'll make it our final question before we round off today. And that was, do you have any tips for us that are at the beginning of our customer experience journey? Any areas we should particularly focus on, bits of knowledge that we should achieve before entering the working field? Helen, maybe.
Customer understanding. Helen, continue, but customer understanding.
I would definitely agree with that. Start with understanding the customer and understanding, the importance of feelings. Just to connect back to Kari's comment earlier, and what how the feelings actually drive the customer decisions. I think that if we understand our customers and have that hat on us when we have the dialogue, and don't be afraid to sit down, have a coffee with your customers, book a couple of just meetings, listen to them. If you starting on a new job or starting a new role, so make sure that you have a couple of meetings and sit downs with customers and ask them what drives them and what their experience is. I'm sure they would be happy to explain that to you.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. It's very much about listening, being open, and then taking in all the feedback that you get from customers and use that to help design the best possible journey that you can.
And bring your CEO.
Yes.
Yes. That was a great final last tip. Okay, I would like to take the opportunity to thank you, my other fellow ambassadors here today, and
thank you, Joanna.
Everybody who attended. This was, of course, our first meetup. I'm sure we have lots to learn and evaluate. So we welcome your feedback. Do join us in the ECXO. You can also get contact with all of us on LinkedIn, so please do so. Other than that, I would love to wish you all a wonderful continued Friday and a fantastic weekend when that time comes.
Thanks you for joining. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Carrie, we have to organize to post that in the ECXO.
Yeah, I realized that.
Yeah. Can we stop the recording? I think we're good.
I'll stop now.
We still have.
Okay, I will stop here so then I can go. And I think it was a great session.
Yeah,
I really like
recording
it.
Again.
It's no problem. I have to stop that anyway here. Okay, so have a great weekend and we'll talk later. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
This was great fun.
Yes,
I really enjoyed it.
It was very good.
It was really
very,
nice.
very good. Yeah, great.
Thank you so much for everything. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Carrie and Joanna. Goodbye. Carrie.
Goodbye.
Carrie,
yes.
We have to really put that there because otherwise.
Yes, I will write a blog post
Maybe
about
a kind of we can do a white paper. Yes, I can organize that. After you have the material, I can organize that and post in a model for the ECXO and the brands.
could be, yes, could be something like that. Yes.
So let me
And,
know next week how we do that, and we do that.
Yes, yes.
We had to think about that before. I did not thought also about that. It's a mistake. Anyway.
Same here. No, we can't beforehand kind of plan everything. That is okay. Just a question of trying to
We are
be
learning.
kind of a yeah. This is also a good kind of a rehearsal for the coming similar kind of opportunities. When doing a survey, you need to kind of put some kind of a summary somewhere somehow. But anyway, that was a good discussion. And of course, from the audience point of view, there was Mikkel taking his kind of a space and publicity for his own purposes, but that's okay. That's the typical
Who was doing
situation.
that?
Mikkel Kontvent from Denmark.
What he did?
No, he was just kind of actively commenting on Q&A and kind of wanting to have. He was commenting, hey, I was thinking this would have been more kind of interactive session and so on. So that was his comments.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
And I activated the chat in the end because I did not understood what was people, because for me, we never activated the chat because don't want people talking, want people pay attention. But we'll see next time. All right.
Yeah, but that was a good first time. That was good kind of a rehearsal for the future.
There's a good lesson also. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
We talk later.
Hey, and just a couple of comments. Today I've been
remember people are here still. Okay.
Okay, then we come back. I send you an email.
Okay. Take care.
Take care. Bye.